I was thinking this week that we love our stories. What I mean by that is, I know I talk about personal stories, but what I'm talking about is when we go to learn something, when we go to explore something or consider something, we like it in the form of a story. We don't like people to just tell us things, like facts, you know. I mean, I could sit here and tell you about all kinds of things, and it wouldn't be that enjoyable, and it also might not click with you if I were to just make statements about, you know, this person said this or that person said that, or it's an understanding of many people, you know. We seem to really enjoy the idea of wrapping something up in a story that we can kind of, the story actually takes us somewhere, I think. It reinforces what's being said. And that plays into a little bit of what I wanted to start off with this evening. I have a friend who is a devout atheist.
I know.
No, really. I mean,
Why it just sounds funny.
no, I know it is, but he's a devout atheist. It's funny because he will literally, if you bring it up, he'll want to explain why, you know. And really, what it boils down to is the fact that he can't put his finger on anything that he can, if it's not something he can touch or see or feel, he doesn't think it could be real. So, you know, all the different religions with all their stories about the different things that religions are about, heaven and hell and all these other things that require an imagination or a leap of faith into believing something that's not right in front of us. He looks at it very scientifically, and he says, you know, if I can't see it, touch it, smell it, then it doesn't exist. Therefore, how could there be a God? And I have a lot of lively discussions with him because I like to sort of tweak him about that because, you know, in Buddhism doesn't really believe in a personal God either. What it believes in, you might attach the word God to, but it isn't so much a personification of an individual that would be someone that at some point in time that you could see and touch and talk to. And so his whole argument as an atheist is that if I can't see it, I can't experience it, and therefore I can't believe in anything that isn't real. And so he takes a very scientific approach to life. And to me, when people do that, I think it becomes very dry. You know, it doesn't have any flavor. It loses its mystery and magic to some degree. And I'm always trying to think of things that will sort of jog him out of that feeling. You know, a story or a parable or some explanation of, well, have you ever considered this? And this week I thought of something that I haven't yet talked to him about, but I wanted to share with you guys because I think it's really, it's an interesting way to look at things. And, you know, a lot of what I talk about here and what I'm trying to explain so that things arise in our discussions are new ways to look at things that you can take bits and pieces out of to incorporate into your daily life so that it sort of renews or reinforces your idea of something greater than what we are. So the thing I thought about was, what is it in this world that we can all see, but we can't touch, taste, feel, or experience? And the thing that came to me was the sky. The blue sky. The blue sky. So we'll all agree, we can all look up in the air and say, oh, look, there's the blue sky. So, And everyone will agree, that's the sky, right? Clouds are in the sky, birds fly, we look up there. And yet, if we were to get in a balloon or something that would take us up into the air, and we kept going up and up and up, we would never experience it. It doesn't exist, honestly. Even though we're in it, as we go up through it, it has no substance. It has no tangible physical attributes that we can experience. I mean, we can measure it, we can, scientifically analyze it. But if we were to take a balloon and we just kept going higher and higher and higher, we would eventually go through what we call the sky and be beyond it. Probably couldn't survive that, but I just thought it was a great idea that, the sky is vast, it's clear, it seems infinite, and we all acknowledge it's there, but nobody could hold it in their hand and show it to you and say, this is the sky. I thought, what a great way to think about whatever, the divine, whatever we call God, whatever, I love the idea that we can talk about the sky, but we can't touch it, we can't define it. It's very much like when we talk about God or the divine, it's the same way. We have a sense of it, but we can't hold it. We can't touch it, at least not in this physical realm. And even if we have an image of it, or we have an experience that portrays it as something in front of us, it's still an intangible object that can't be experienced. And I thought, what a great way to put it to someone who's always asking those questions of well, if I can't experience it, then it doesn't exist. I think as a culture, we have traveled this long road from the mysterious and magical and mystical all the way to the dry bones of reality. And we've gotten stuck there because, in all honesty, if you read what's going on in the world from a scientific standpoint, all of these things that the mystics and the spiritual histories have been talking about are being proven every day in science. I just saw this thing the other day that it amazed me. It was talking about they've been able to do experiments now where they can prove that the atoms of our body actually go in and out of existence hundreds of thousands of times in a second. So they're in, they're out. That idea is light a wave or a particle. It's the same thing. It's both, actually. It changes, and it will become whatever it needs to be when it's observed by something. So it takes on the characteristics that the observer or the experiment is set up to look at it with. So it's malleable. And I thought, well, that's really interesting because I read once, and I don't know if it was in the Upanishads by the Indian history books or if it was in Buddhism, but they talked about what a moment was. I think it was in Buddhism. And they were explaining that in the early writings of Buddhism, they talked about something called a kasana. And a kasana is a moment. And it's explained in this literature that in the snap of a finger, there are 30 kasanas. 30 moments of the time it takes to snap your fingers.
How do they know that?
I don't know. But what's interesting, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's written as if it were gospel. Hundreds, if not thousands of years ago. And yet here we are today with scientists telling us that things flash in and out of existence. Moments. They exist momentarily. Many, many, many times a second. So it's kind of like, wow, it's like things are being rediscovered or proven or brought to a place that can be looked at by scientific means.